everyone. Welcome back to Best Life Abroad, not your average travel podcast. I am Dr. Raquel, your host. And today we are in for a treat. We have Tracey with us today, and she is going to first tell us a little bit about herself. But her specific area of focus is somatic healing. So we'll learn about how you can incorporate somatic healing into your move abroad. So, hello, Tracey. Thanks so much for being with us today. And if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me here. My name is Tracy. I'm currently living in New York City. I work as a relocation coach and somatic practitioner, helping people navigate the emotional layer of relocation. And I left home at 16 years old, and since then, I lived in six different cities around the world. So each time before I move to a new place, I give myself 3 months to try to see what happens. And now, after 22 years, I've made myself homes in places all over the world. And now I'm passionate about helping other people to do the same, to create that felt sense home in your body, in their body, so that you can feel at peace no matter where life is taking you.
Oh, I love the 3 months. I really love that. Like 3 months, we'll give this to make sure it resonates and it's a place that we can be, and then we'll take it from there. I love it. And so you mentioned leaving home at 16, living in six different cities. What do you feel like were some of the greatest emotional challenges that you had to face during those moves?
Yeah, so I think this is also the part of relocation we rarely talks about because we prepare for the logistics, the housing, the job, the visa, but no one really prepares us for the emotional impact of starting over. Because when we are moving to a new place, we're also moving through layers of grief, loneliness, cultural disorientation. And in my journey, I feel one of the emotion that hit the hardest was grief. And for a long time, I didn't even know that was grief. I thought it was just homesickness or sadness until one day I saw this words that's called ambiguous grief. So this is about the invisible losses we have after moving abroad, like the loss of identity, the loss of belonging, the loss of familiarity. And when I saw that word, I just felt like I was deeply related to that. And that was exactly how I felt when I moved abroad, especially that happened 8 years ago when I moved from Hong Kong to Vancouver. At first, I thought I was going to have a new start, but after I arrived in Vancouver, I realized the reality was nothing as I expected. That's when I realized I was not just grieving for what I left behind. I was also grieving for this dream that never come true. And also there is also a deeper layer of grief. Sometimes after living abroad for a long time, when you return home, you feel like a stranger at a familiar places because there are a lot of moments, relationships that cannot be recreated. So that's something I call the grief of time. So I feel to navigate relocation is to navigate grief.
Tracy. Oh, Tracy. So much of what you're saying, I just am like, ah, yes, yes, I have definitely experienced those things. And I appreciate you talking about the grief of time, because I think that that has been like one of the main things I did not realize I was experiencing after moving back to the US.
Mm.
And it was like moving from living abroad for almost a decade and then moving back now, like as a parent, now having to like navigate all new things in my home country. It feels so weird because it's like like even I remember first moving back and not knowing I had no idea what grocery stores these people were talking about. I was like, is that a grocery store? Because I don't know what that is. And so they were like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't know that. I don't know what you're talking about. And so it's like you're kind of weird because you don't know these things, but
Yeah.
there is an expectation that you
Mhm.
respond a certain way, you move a certain way, you think a certain way because I am from the United States. And so it's kind of been, I didn't realize this until more recently, but I feel like I've been trying to like force other people to understand like what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. But it's been so hard because it's like when I'm like, why do parents do that again with their kids? And they're like, because that's how it's done. But I'm like, but we know that doesn't make sense, right? And it's like, no, why doesn't that make sense? And it's like, okay. So this is like a losing battle here. And so I really appreciate you sharing that because I do feel like there's been such a huge amount of that time grief that I have been just experiencing for year after year after year with being back in the US that I had no idea that that's what was happening.
Mm.
So yeah, I so appreciate you highlighting that point, because it can happen on your way out to a new country, and it can also happen as you return back to your home country after being gone for quite some time too.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people call that the grief of time, and some people call it the reverse culture shock, right? So this is the emotional adjustment that happens when you return home. And why this is worse? Because when you move abroad, you kind of prepare yourself to adapt to this new environment. You kind of expect a new challenge, and people around you, they will be understanding and supportive. But then when you return home, everyone expects you to feel this comfort, ease, belonging. But then the reality isn't often the case. That's why we feel even more frustration when we return home and feels like you change, places change, people change, nothing stays the same.
Hmm. Yes, so true. And so you mentioned also that, like, for many people, the logistics of the move, the housing, the visa, the jobs, that's pretty much what gets focused on. And often that, like, inner transition is what gets lost. So can you tell us a little bit about, like, what somatic healing is, and then also how somatic healing can help bridge that gap?
Yeah, of course. I think the logistics can help us survive after moving abroad, but the emotional healing and somatic healing can really help us thrive after moving abroad. And I wonder if you have this experience before, like when you maybe you were on a vacation or you visit a friend who live in a different country, and when you arrived, you just feel, oh, this place feels like home. I want to move there. I want to settle down. Right? So you feel open, you feel peaceful, you feel nourished when you arrive there. So that is the goal of somatic healing. But instead of getting that feeling of openness, feeling of connection, feeling of peace from an external place, in somatic healing, we help our clients to create that feeling inside their body. We help them shift their energy inside their body so that they can become a vibrational match for whatever they want to call forth in their life. So, for example, if we want to feel at home in a place, first we want to build that false sense of home in our body. And once we build that sense of home in our body, you either feel peace where you are, or life will bring you to the right place at the right timing. So life becomes less about searching and more about unfolding.
That's really great. And I know that, like, loneliness, isolation, those can really be huge for many expats. Like, once that initial honeymoon phase of living abroad wears off. And so, from your perspective, what is really happening in the body when someone is feeling that kind of disconnection?
Yeah, so basically, there are two types of loneliness most people will experience after moving abroad. The first one is social loneliness. So this means you're missing a network. You don't have anyone who you can call to grab dinner with, or maybe there is no one you can reach out to grab dinner after a walk on a Sunday afternoon. And so this is about missing those casual connections. So think of this like during COVID, everyone was locked down at home. There is no social events. So that's what most people experiences after a move. And then the second one is called the emotional loneliness. So this one runs a lot deeper. So this means you can have a social circle, you can have new friends, coworkers to chat with, but you still feel emotionally disconnected. Like have you had the feeling like you feel lonely even in a group of people, even when you're surrounded by other people? And that is because what's missing is not just company. What's missing is connection. You want to surround yourself with people who really see you, understand you, and accept you for who you are. And that's why this one goes a lot deeper because when we move abroad, there is part of us that's trying to hold back because we are worried. What if we get judged? We're not familiar with their social rules, cultural norms, or language barriers. So we always carry this fear of being rejected because vulnerability takes time and we don't feel safe enough to open up. And that is why it's almost impossible to build emotional connection if we are hijacked by the fear. And
Mm.
oftentimes, this also shows up in the body, such as this feeling of restlessness, feeling of emptiness. Oftentimes, I suggest people to pay attention to how their body feels before they reach out to your phone to scroll through social media, because that's usually the reason we do that is because we try to override that sensation in our body. It feels very uncomfortable to feel that. That's why we try to distract ourselves by using social media. But next time, when you try to use social media, I would invite people to really take a pause. Just notice what is happening in your body in that moment. If we can really sit with that sensation, sit with that feeling, it will begin to soften.
That's really great too. I think like just even thinking about those relationships, that community, that connection, I think too that that is one of the things that kind of had contributed so much to the reverse culture shock that I felt.
Mm.
Because specifically, like when I moved abroad to, like when I studied abroad, you have kind of like your built-in connections. So it's like you all are experiencing this together, go forth and learn things. And then when I moved then to Germany, then it was like, okay, we moved there for my husband's job, which was to play American football. And so again, we had this built-in network of an American football team. And then moving to Belgium, it was again, I was working for a university, so I had like the built-in students connection. But also, like when you are having a child in Belgium, they connect you to like other people who are also having a baby around the same time. So it's like they try to build in networks and connections that way as well. And I was also taking like dance classes, I was taking language classes. And so there were like all these pockets where I was able to like build these actual connections with people, all in different ways that we connected. We had a wonderful church while we were there. And so it was like then going from there back to the US, where to me it's just much more like individualistic, it's much more like fend for yourself, it's much more like we're over here doing our own thing. And so it took so long to then be able to again build that type of community and connection. And I think that now that you are mentioning that, it does definitely resonate a lot, but in terms of like the reverse culture shock, in terms of like figuring out how to build that connection again, but in a different way. And in a way, like with people who you know, but now they're totally different, or you're totally different. Somebody's different.
Yeah, I feel you. So this is really about redefining what community means to you. And like you said, building connections in different ways. Like in my own journey, I feel like when I was at home, I felt like community means people who share similar life situations. Maybe we went to the same school, we do the same work, and that's what it means to be in a community. And then after moving abroad, I realized like community is more than that. It really challenges you to step outside of your comfort zone. You begin to meet people outside work, maybe through shared interests or shared values. And that's how I met one of my best friends at a spiritual meetup. Even we're coming from different cultural background, but we have the same passion for psychology, spirituality. So at that time, I thought like maybe a community means being surrounded with like-minded people. And then after leaving Vancouver, I moved to New York and Toronto, where I feel like my definition of community has evolved even more. And that is because an experience I had. I remember this one time I went to an acting class. At first, the room was really quiet. Nobody talked to each other. And then this moment, a Spanish couple walked in, and they didn't speak a lot of English, but the moment they walk in, they just began to radiate this loving energy. They said hi to everyone. And even their English was not good, but everyone wanted to be surrounded with them. Like maybe you had that feeling too. You already feel this person's vibe before they even say a word. And you just want to be friends with them because they have this loving, compassionate energy. They can see people for who they are. They accept and love people for who they are. So that is why nowadays I feel communities doesn't even mean being with like-minded people. It just means like having that loving energy within you. And then once we have that within us, we begin to attract people who also operating at the same frequency. And this is exactly also the work I do in somatic healing, really help people create those energy of love, of connection, of peace in their body. And so that you can begin to attract those people or the beautiful places into your life.
Hmm. And so when, let's say, someone has moved abroad and they are trying to figure out all the things and they are feeling this like disconnect between like their environment and themselves. They're just trying to navigate all these unfamiliar things. Can you help us understand like how can they begin to cultivate this sense of like peace, belonging within when there's so much going on externally?
Yeah, definitely understand that. So, from the somatic healing perspective, we want to go inward. And so, really begin by just paying attention to what you're feeling physically. Because so often I ask my clients, how are you feeling? And they say either I feel good or I feel bad. They don't even know how to describe it. Maybe we also have that some experience. It just feels like something is off. I'm feeling out of words. I don't even know how to describe that. So I feel the first step is to really increase your emotional vocabulary. There is a tool called Emotional Well, which is super helpful. You can find it on Google, on websites. And so that's the first step. Really begin to name that emotion because when you name your emotion, you actually secure soothing neurotransmitters in your brain and that help calms your body's so it's actually changes your body chemistry when you begin to name your emotions. So that is the first step. And the second step is to really noticing there is maybe the other part of you that's trying to resist it. Like I said, like whenever we feel this unpleasant emotion, there is always this tendency, I don't want to feel that. Let me try to control it. Let me avoid it. Let me pretend this didn't happen, or let me just suppress it. And we don't want to judge ourselves. It's very human nature to avoid pain at all costs. We just want to notice there is a part of me that's trying to resist, but we are not taking action on it. We just want to take a pause and noticing. It's in that noticing we can begin to create that spaciousness. And then the last step is just to allow that sensation, that emotion, whether it's loneliness or anxiety, stress, allow it to move through the body, right? And then we can use somatic tools to facilitate that process as well, because energy lives in our body in three ways: through breath, through sound, through movement. So these are the three steps I would invite people to try, because this can really help liberate yourself from the inside out. Oftentimes we feel those stress, we try to project it onto the external world. I feel like only if I get this visa, then I can finally feel calm. Only if I find a job, then I can finally feel peaceful. But what the work we're doing here is when you feel calm, peaceful on the inside, and then the external solution will present it by themselves. Everything starts within you.
That is so, so interesting. And are there any recommendations that you have, like someone who is like, okay, I'm planning a move. I know that there are things that I'm going to be experiencing. Are there any things that you would recommend, like daily rituals or grounding practices that they can like start to do now so that when those times come, they already have like the practice of it? Or is somatic healing more like once things happen, then you implement these practices to kind of combat that?
Yeah, that's a good question because oftentimes we have this tendency only when things happen, then we will do this practice. But oftentimes we feel a lot of intensity at that time. So it's always good to prepare beforehand. And this can be a morning routine just when you wake up before you reach out to your phone, just taking a pause, do a morning body check-in, scanning your body from the top of your head all the way down, just noticing any sensations that may be present. And then there is nothing to fix, nothing we need to change. We just want to be aware of them, be present with them, and use your breath. Like breath work is one of my favorite healing modality. When you use breath work, being mindful about your breath, you also connect the body with the mind, and you will begin to feel more regulation in the body. So that is always my number one recommendation.
Hmm. That's really great. I appreciate you sharing that. So many things I'm about to implement. Thank you, Tracy.
Cheers.
And then also, like, you know, you've moved abroad to many different countries. Are there any things that, looking back on them, because you know, sometimes when you're ready to move abroad, it's like pure energy and excitement. Even when like something negative happens, it's like, okay, now how can I fix that? How can I get over that? It's kind of action consistently. Are there any things that you like wish you would have known that you can maybe share for people to just even be a little bit more aware of? But anything you wish you would have known just about the emotional side of moving abroad before you started relocating?
Yeah, absolutely. So before I move abroad, I always hear these voices from either myself or other people. It says you have to stay strong, you have to be independent, you have to stay positive because after you move abroad, you there might be no one you can rely on. So there is always this part of me try to toughen up, try to hold it all together. But if I could travel back in time and talk to that 16-year-old version of me, I will tell her that it's okay to feel. It's okay to express. It's okay to cry. You are allowed to feel your emotions. You don't need to pretend everything is okay. And so often we feel like our power comes from our resilience, our strength, or our achievements. But in my experience, the greatest power we have is through the portal of love and softness. The more soft we can be with ourselves, the more solid we become. So I would really invite people to bring more love, more compassion to themselves as they are navigating this journey of relocation.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And are there like specific, I guess, signals that you would recommend for people to look out for? Like, okay, you're starting to get a little bit snippy. Maybe it's time to do like an assessment, or you're feeling tired. Maybe it's time to do an assessment. Are there like specific physical traits that you would say, okay, this might be time for you to kind of think about what you're feeling and what's going on internally?
Yeah, definitely. So this may show up as different for different individuals. Some people experience some tightness in their chest when they're getting stressed. Some people feel like there is heaviness in their heart, or some people feel this is contraction in their stomach. But what I would always invite people to do is to ask these two questions every morning when you wake up. The first question is, are you waking up feel like you're filled with enthusiasm to tackle a hard day's work? Or do you feel like you're just going through the motion to survive? If you constantly feel you have to rather than you want to, then that is an early sign of chronic stress. And then the second question is, are you waking up feeling with you're filled with kindness, compassion, eager to extend that to other people? Or do you feel like you're alien, you're just trying to be nice, trying to fit in? And again, that's another sign of chronic stress.
Those are really great questions. I've been reading this book, and one of the things in the book that they were saying in terms of just like happiness is how people think that like money is one of the biggest indicators of happiness, but how like time freedom is actually one of like the biggest indicators of happiness. And I say this all the time too with people who are like, but you know, in that country you have to pay so many more taxes. And I'm like, okay, so you pay more taxes, but you have the comfort in knowing that if you have a healthcare emergency, like you will not be financially in ruin. So it's like, you know, there's the balance of it. And so it makes me think of that just in terms of like the have to versus the want to. Like, is this something that I have to do? I don't have any options in life. I don't have any autonomy versus like I am in control of life and I'm in control of what I do. And I think that that is really one of the reasons why Best Life Abroad exists is because there were so many people that I was having conversations with that were like, yeah, I wish I could do that. I really would love to do that, but I just can't. And it would be like, so why can't you? But there really wasn't a reason. It was just kind of like because I haven't done it before. And it's like, but you can. So let's try to figure it out if it's something that you really want to do. And so I really appreciate that too, just like figuring out how to reframe life where you don't always just have these like crushing obligations. But what can we do differently in life so that we have more of the doing what we want to do versus doing what we have to do? So I really
Yeah. Absolutely. So people always say like time is money, right? The reason why we're making money is so that we can have more time. And also there is also the part where your energy is your most valuable currency. So time is important, your energy is important. We want to do the things that really uplift you, that feels this energy richness and letting go of the things that are draining your energy. And that is why I feel it's so important to protect your energy and focus it on the things that actually bring you joy.
Absolutely. I could not agree more, Tracy. I could not. So as we wrap up, if there were just one piece of advice, there's someone right now who's listening, they're planning on moving abroad in the next, let's say, 6 months. They're feeling some anxiety. They're not really sure how to like process that anxiety. They're just kind of keep pushing forward to get the dream done. What would be the advice that you would give to that person about how to just prepare emotionally and maintain emotionally like grounded and sound?
Yeah, so I would always invite people to do one of these two things. The first thing is connect to yourself. This means connecting to your body, connecting to your heart, connecting to your inner child, the parts of you that desires your attention, desires your love, and even just 20 minutes a day, just being present with yourself, with your body, that can make a huge difference. And the second thing is connecting to source. So the source could be like God, universe, your higher self, life force, however it looks like for you, because there is an infinite amount of spiritual energy around us on a daily basis. Oftentimes we think if we want to be spiritual, we have to meditate in a mountain or visit the sacred temple. But for me, like God exists in everything. It doesn't exist in a church or a box, it's in everything. And if we can really be more intentional and spend time to connect with that source, to trust the universe, it's not like your timing, it's the universe timing. Because I know there is always part of us is trying to figure out everything before moving abroad so that we can feel safe. But maybe you're not supposed to have all the answers. Maybe you're learning to feel your way through, to allow the universe to work its magic. And all you need to learn is to trust yourself, trust God, trust your inner guidance. I feel it's even sometimes a simple dialogue like this. I trust myself. I see you. I hear you. I'm here for you. That could help.
Tracy, thank you so much. I have learned so much today. And also just process so much. Like there's so much that I am like, as I have more conversations, I'm realizing, oh wow, that's what that was. Oh wow, this is why I was feeling that. So I just really appreciate that. And I absolutely, before our conversation, was not familiar at all with somatic healing. And so definitely see how that can be just such a beneficial practice, especially when even considering a move abroad. Like if you are considering a move abroad, there's a reason why. So I always say to like figure out what is the why for why you even want to make this decision. And it can be so many different emotions as to why you're even considering this. And I think that this can just be such a helpful practice just across the complete spectrum of like where you are in your move abroad process from like I'm considering it to I'm actively trying to make it happen. I'm in the visa process. I got my visa. Now I'm getting my residence card. We're packing up and we're moving. We just got there. We're figuring out where we're going to live. I'm picking a school. Like there are so many different phases where I feel like this can be so, so helpful. So I'm really, really grateful.
Yeah, I'm grateful to be here too. And I hope this can give people a sense of real empowerment because so often we think our safety has to come from external place. We have to figure out the visa, figure out the job, figure out the housing in order to feel safe. But I want you to know that you have the power to create that sense of safety within you. You have that place of deeper place of within you. And no matter how the external world changes, you are unshakable.
Oh, thank you so much, Tracy. And can you share with those who are listening where they can learn more about your work and where they can connect with you?
Yeah, of course. So I started my journey with 90 days. So now I work with my clients one-on-one for 90 days because I know how much can change and transform in 90 days. So I have this one-on-one coaching program for 90 days, we'll use a mix of somatic practices, inner child healing, and breath work so you can feel more at peace no matter where you are. And also, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at traceyzhangcoaching.com. And I would also welcome anyone to download the free ebook on my website at traceyzhang.com, where you can learn more about how to navigate the emotional layer of relocation. And I would also love to have a free call with anyone who is listening so that I can give you more support on your journey.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And if this episode resonated with you at all, if you feel like there's a friend who could use the insights from Tracy, please share, subscribe, leave a review. If you're ready to get your move abroad roadmap going and move from dreaming about it to making it happen, I am here for you. So you can head over to my website at www.yourbestlifeabroad.com. Go to the top right corner, click work with me, and we can set up a time to connect. So remember, there is no time like right now to live your best life abroad. And I will see you all next week. Bye.